Cody, and this is Suspend Disbelief, the show where we talk about the taboo, the supernatural, the mysterious occurrences of our universe. Today I have two special guests. My cousin, Mark Cody, call him Doc in my family, and his lovely wife, Kate Cody. Doc, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Doc. Retired military, U.S. Marines. I've got some pretty crazy experiences to tell. I'm excited to share.
Cool. Kate?
Well, I'm from Canada and grew up on a haunted ranch.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm a Cree and native from up north, so.
Sweet. And Doc is Kiowa, just like me. Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma. He is full blood. Both of his parents born and raised near Carnegie, Oklahoma. As of my dad as well, which is his brother, his dad's brother. And him and Kate got married a couple months ago, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to MC their wedding about 4 days before the wedding. It was a fun wedding, though. It was a fun wedding. Would I have gone? Probably not, but and they gave me a job, so I had to be there. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it has been a while since we posted an episode. I recorded one the other day with my dad, which is probably going to come out before this. And tonight is going to be a really cool, special podcast because Doc is going to tell us some military stories. He's going to tell us his experience in the military, in the Marines, and things that you don't know about it, the things that they're not supposed to tell you about it, things that is often not talked about, including basic training, places that he's gone, what he's done, how many people he's killed. No, I'm just kidding. And PTSD, all that stuff, things that they don't normally, people don't really talk about because men are men, and when they come back, they're completely different people. And anyway, I don't think Doc is really as shell-shocked as others, which is good. And so he came back to civilian life a couple years ago, and he's happy and healthy. So, and Kate, she's great too. No, she's awesome. So Doc, let's dive right into it. Tell us a little about your military experience, when you got started, what it was like, why you wanted to get into the military, etc.
Okay, yeah. So it started in 2005 when our cousin, Corporal Joshua J. Ware, fell in battle in Iraq, and I attended his funeral. And even from that young age, I knew Marines were different. And so...
How old were you then?
About 7, I believe. And so I just knew Marines were different, and I wanted to be a part of that. And then from that date forward, I wanted to be a Marine. And so everything I did in life was geared towards that. Sports, I joined sports, and that just with no intention of being like a pro or going to college for it or anything. It was simply a stepping stone for me.
So everything from basically age 7 on up was just planning to help you succeed in the military.
Yes.
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever heard anybody know that young that they wanted to be in the military. I mean, you hear a lot of people, like they ask you when you're a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like a president, astronaut, firefighter, all that stuff. But, somebody that wants to be a Marine specifically, not just an Army man,
Yep.
And then they stick to it and they follow through with it. That is incredibly impressive. And it shows a lot of where your heart is. And I should have said this at the beginning, but thank you for your service. And thank you for everything that you've done, and including all of your brothers in the military, all of that as well. So can we talk about our cousin Josh Ware, and do you know what happened and how he died?
Yes. So there's a citation on his unit's page. His convoy was caught in an ambush, and he received small arms fire. Small arms fire meaning AK-47s, rifles, and
Was he in Iraq?
yes. And he when the ambush took place, he directed fire on himself. Like he got the intention on himself, and he just took it all on himself so his platoon could maneuver and close in and destroy the enemy.
So metaphorically, he jumped on the grenade for his platoon.
Yeah.
A real hero's death. Wow. That is incredible. So very sad. I do remember when he passed. I was probably 13 or 14 at the time, and I didn't go to the funeral because I don't think I ever met him. I may have, but of course now that I'm an adult, it's incredibly sad to see how young he was when he
Forever 20
gave his life for our country in the most warrior way possible. Our tribe, the Kiowas, we are known for we're warriors. We were bloodthirsty in battle, never tamed, never conquered. And he was the living embodiment of that. So let's talk a little bit more about your experiences in the military. When did you sign up? What was that like? How long did it take for you to get enlisted? And from the day you signed to the day that you were sent to basic training?
Yeah. So I wanted to get signed up as soon as possible. I graduated high school, and I was naive back then and thinking they would just accept me and I would go. I was 285 pounds back then. I was a lineman in football and heavyweight in wrestling. And so whenever that happens, I thought they were just sending me to preliminary fat camp, because I've heard about such things. I know the Army does it. Marines are much more strict. They're like, you got to get down to this certain weight before you can go. So I was like, okay. So I spent the next 2 years from 18 to 20.
2 years. What weight did you have to be at?
So at 285, I had to go to 210.
That's crazy.
Yep.
75 pounds. This is wild.
Yep. And I kind of started out just kind of slugging it off, and then I was like, this is what I've been working for my entire life. What am I doing? And so I really dug in my last year, out of the 2 years, I dug in the last year. Did 1 meal a day. I ran 3 to 5 miles every day, swam a mile, and ran around a lake, which is 12 miles every other Friday. And then I just did that on that, because I heard about Marine Corps boot camp and I was expecting the worst. So I wanted to make sure I was physically fit. And I got down. And I got sworn in June, and I left that October. So for boot camp.
All right. So you officially sworn in. You were sent to boot camp after a couple months. What did it look like in boot camp? Where were you stationed? How did that all go down? Are you allowed to talk about a lot of it?
Yeah. Before I get into that, I do want to shout out my recruiters. They've been with me since the beginning of the 2 years, and they knew I wanted to be infantry. And infantry contracts in Oklahoma are very hard to come by. Everyone goes for them. And so when I got sworn in, my old recruiter called my other old recruiter, and he was like, "Hey, Cody just got sworn in. Do you have any open infantry spots?" And he's like, "For Cody? Yeah, give me 10 minutes." Called back 10 minutes later, had an infantry job. So
nice.
But yep. Boot camp was brutal.
How long was it?
3 months.
Where was it?
13 weeks technically. San Diego, California is
Okay.
2. San Diego, California, or Paris Island. And so I went to San Diego, where the real Marines are at.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, even just getting off the plane was nerve-wracking, and getting like on the bus and getting off the bus, very intense from the get-go. Like they want to weed out the weak as soon as possible, mentally, physically, and everything in between. So they hit you with a bunch of they give you all your like stuff that you're issued, and then they hit you with a bunch of shots, and then after the shots, in like 6 shots in each arm, they're like, all right, we're going to do your strength test, which is minimum of 6 pull-ups, 1.5 mile run in under 13 minutes. And
Dang. Okay.
I think it's about 80 crunches in 2 minutes minimum. And so I crushed that because I've been training, and it never stopped. I thought the intensity might like slow down even just a little bit. No, the gas pedal never was let off.
Dang, dude.
So
for 13 weeks,
Mhm.
what did your day-to-day look like?
So there's 3 phases. First phase is just breaking you down. You're learning how to march, how to drill, how to dress yourself. They go down to the like how to eat. And then once they break you down, break your spirit, they build you back up. Second phase, which includes like marksmanship training, like land nav, and everything else that includes in that. And then third phase, that's when you start becoming a warfighter. And you start doing like final drills, learning like what it takes to be a Marine, just like the final finishing touches on everything. Once they break you down, build you back up. Building you back up is the second phase. Third is like the disciplinaryship and how it means to be a professional warfighter.
It's kind of how my dating life was. Breaking them down, and building them back up, breaking them down again. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so 13 weeks in boot camp, 3 phases, incredibly intense. Were you just like super shredded at the end of it?
Yes. There is one thing I would want to mention for anyone interested. They do something called the Crucible at the end. It's a 3-day culinary event, 54 miles. You only get 3 MREs for 3 days. 12 hours of sleep in total for 3 days. And you're marching everywhere with a heavy rucksack, your rifle. And you just do different activities, teamwork, shooting, and just long hikes. And then you climb something called the Reaper. And once you reach the top of that mountain where some people don't make it. Some people really don't make it at that last part. But once you do make it, you get called a Marine for the first time. Get handed your Eagle Globe and Anchor. And yep, you're a Marine after that point.
Did you cry?
No, I did not actually. But I was very happy. And I was just like, it was like finally.
So it's like this 3-day test.
Yep.
Rucking with your rifle and all your gear on for 54 miles, 12 hours of sleep over 3 days. That's crazy. And you guys, sleep on dirt and stuff like that when you do sleep, or what?
Yeah. We get like a little sleeping mat, and then like maybe a bivy sack with a like a little blanket. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like that properly prepared you for what to expect when you're out on the field?
Yes, it did.
More intense or less intense?
Less intense.
Okay.
After that, you go to infantry school. That's way more intense, and you have to hike another big hill called, I'm not sure if I can cuss on this, but
you
that's
can
a
cuss.
Vulgar name.
Say it.
It's Mount Motherfucker.
Whoa! All right, guy.
And it's like twice as big as the Reaper, and it's like the infantry school's culinary.
Okay, right on. So you went to infantry school after your boot camp.
Yep.
What was that like? How long? Where was it? All that jazz.
So I actually got hooked up with about a month of recruiters assistance, which is basically helping the recruiters recruit other people.
Okay.
And so after that, it was about 2 months, but it was very intense and rigorous with more tests. And it made boot camp look like a cakewalk, which boot camp was a cakewalk, to be honest, to me.
Wow.
And so this one was filled with like different hikes at different points throughout.
Mhm.
And halfway through, you basically, well, this is during my time, it's changed now. So take it with a grain of salt. But back in my day, I filled, you got to choose your job in the infantry. So there was regular riflemen, which is what a majority go to. Then you got weapons. So you got machine guns, mortars, anti-tank missilemen, and they used to have assaultmen, but they got rid of it. Assaultmen used to just like deal with explosives, and then anti-tank missilemen obviously deals with like javelin missiles and such. Mortars was mortars, and I was machine guns. So
Nice.
I got they lined a lot of people, 30 people, or no. I think it was about 50 guys went up to get tested for not even tested, just get chosen for machine gunners. And 30 of us got chosen. I was third chosen.
Wow.
So.
Oh wow.
No big deal or nothing. Oh, that's cool. All right. So remind me, how long was your infantry school again?
About 2 months.
2 months. And then from there, where'd you go?
Went to my first duty station, my only duty station, was 29 Palms,
29
California.
Palms.
It's in the Mojave Desert,
All right.
right next to Joshua Tree.
Oh, snap. All right.
Lots of weird stuff.
Lots of weird stuff. Here we go. We're finally getting to the ghost stories here. And as you guys know, this is Suspend Disbelief. So we're going to get in some paranormal stuff. We're just kind of preparing you for all of that. Okay, so you show up to 29 Palms. What was that like? What did it look like? Where'd you sleep? What'd you eat? How many people were there? All that stuff. Paint a really pretty picture.
I don't know exact numbers. It's as a base, like the actual like base with like barracks and buildings and everything, it's kind of very small.
Are there any pictures online I can put on this, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's some satellite images
Okay.
or something. But that's just the main base. The entire training area is as big as Rhode Island. So yeah, it's just desert and mountains.
Jeez.
Going there was kind of a big punch because we got there, all 30 of my classmates, and some riflemen. We got there and it was just ominous looking from the beginning because we got there and it was like a single cloud and it was casting a shadow on the base and it was just like a dark spot in the desert and we were like, well, like it was literally like a movie. Like I know it sounds like I'm just like making up for dramatic. I'm telling you, it was crazy.
This guy's got main character syndrome over here. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, and then once we got there, infantry is a whole other animal, I would say, than any other MOS. Like hazing went on, beatings. People would just throw your stuff around. Before we even got into our rooms, they made us clean everything. And if we didn't, we were out there till about like 8 o'clock at night. We got there about 1, just cleaning. They kept finding new stuff to like, yeah.
All right.
And we were in our like uniforms and everything, so it's hot. Like you're in the desert, so it can reach like 130, 120 degrees.
Jeez.
And yeah. But after a while, your seniors, as we call them, like the guys who have been on deployment for you and everything, that they're mentoring you and taking care of you, they're just training you. They're not, I mean, I'm sure they hated us at the moment, but like it's part of the culture to like train the next generation as best as you can.
Of course, yeah.
To prepare them for, our seniors just got back from Afghanistan. So we were trained as such. And like, perfection is the standard.
Okay.
And so anything less, we're either getting beat or like worked out. Like when I say work out, it means like we put on our armor, our boots, and we go all the way to like we called it the backyard. It was just the desert. We would run up like mountains and stuff. So
Jeez.
yeah, and so it was a harsh environment. It's literally like when my parents went out there, my dad was like, "It literally looks like Mars out here." I was like, "It is." Like
That's where NASA gets their Mars photos from. Don't believe anything NASA tells you guys.
Honestly, I've seen some Mars photos, and I was like, "Kind of looks familiar."
Oh man. But yeah, that's wild. What else? What else you got?
All kinds of weird stuff out there. Not even just on base. Joshua Tree too.
How long were you guys there? Or how long were you there?
I was there for all 4 years of my enlistment.
Yeah.
But besides deployment. Anyway. But all kinds of weird stuff happened, like from Marines going crazy and killing their wives and kids and something, or just like tourists disappearing. Because it's right, like I said, it's across the street from Joshua Tree National Park. So.
Oh yeah, Joshua Tree. There's some weird stuff that happens out there, huh? Sweet. Well, tell us some ghost stories, man. What all have you heard? What have you experienced? Give us some juicy content here.
Okay. Well, I want to preface this by saying that Joshua Tree is one of the only other places on Earth where a Joshua Tree can grow, the other being Israel, so you can kind of see where some paranormal stuff like that happen. Give or take.
Okay. All right.
And but some military ones, it's like I said, the whole training area is the size of Rhode Island. And so you hear like about like lone Marines wandering the back roads that they use to get to other areas, because I think it was back in the early 2000s, a whole battalion went out, but they didn't have proper accountability, and a Marine was left behind, and because he had to stand watch at some point, and he was left behind, and so the battalion left, and he couldn't find his way back, and they found him like a week later after he died, about like half a mile from, we call it Manside, which is like where all the buildings are and stuff. So sometimes guys on fire watch is something that the military does, where you have to stand watch for an hour. Each person, you have a whole roster for all 8 hours of the night, and they have to stand watch just to look for anything crazy or listen to radios, or just being like the lookout. And so Firewatch will say like they'll see a Marine walking like past them on the road.
Yeah. And it's supposedly the guy who got lost, and they found him half a mile away.
Yep.
Yo, I'm assuming they found him dead,
yep.
Right?
He was dehydrated.
Oh.
But there's also another story.
Do they have a name for him? Do they call him something?
I feel so bad. I don't remember the Marine's name, but yeah. Another one of similar vein. I don't remember quite how he died, but I've heard stories on 29 Palms about a certain staff sergeant that will come up to the fire watch, like he'll come up to you and be like requesting you like gain access, and the fire watch will like radio into the commander, be like, hey, can staff sergeant so and so pass? And they're like, this is the one story I heard is like the commander like immediately got up and said, we're all leaving right now, we're going back. Because apparently that staff sergeant died years and years later, and he's in that battalion. And so,
like before or later?
Yeah.
He died before.
Yeah. And so he recognized the name, and he said that like they were out in the middle of nowhere, and he just came up in like regular camis, not armor or anything. And yeah.
Dang, even in death, the guy's still working.
Yo.
That's my nightmare.
Another one would be the Yucca Man, because the name comes from Yucca Valley, right there, in between us and Joshua Tree, town called Yucca Valley, and he's basically like the sand version of Bigfoot.
You.
Yeah, he looks like, because there's shrubbery out there in Joshua trees, and so like Marines like on fire watch. Well, not fire watch. It's just like road guards.
Mhm.
They'll see because there's always two at least, and they'll confirm it with their other partner. Like, hey, you see that like bush moving like out in the distance?
No.
And like we have scopes on our rifles, so we can like
Oh,
check.
wow.
And so there's just all sorts of strange occurrences and like strange lights. I've witnessed some myself too. Want me to get into that?
Heck yeah, I do.
Okay.
Let's do it, babe. If you need a breather, man, like, can we
No,
talk about
no.
something else? No.
No. I remember one time. This is my own personal experience. One time we were up on a mountain that oversaw the valley, and then Joshua Tree on the other side, and I saw like these 6 lights come up. We just got done. The sun just set, and these 6 like lights came up, and I thought they were flares. But one, military equipment is not authorized on that side of the mountain.
Mm.
And so, and they stood, I've seen flares used, and they stayed up way longer than like their allotted time that they're allowed to use. And so, I like even took a picture, and I gotta find it because I lost it, but, it stayed up way longer than I've ever seen. And I even asked like my company gunny about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it."
Dang.
So I feel like they knew what it was, but
Mhm.
they were trying to keep it hush hush or something. Because I was like,
They just know the aliens are showing up.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Yeah. Like you didn't see anything.
Exactly.
There's
I
not
was
the droids
just
you're looking for.
I was a lowly lance corporal, so I was just like,
Low on the total.
"What's going on?" Yeah. And
Yeah.
you also hear stories about Marines wandering the halls of the old barracks, because that base has been there since the 40s. And so there's like reports of like, and the barracks are old. They haven't changed them. They just updated them, the rooms and such.
Dang.
And so you hear about like these Marines that come up to the duty, like the people who like stay and watch over the barracks, in old uniforms, like the last floor. Being like, "Hey,
Dang.
can you point me in the direction of rooms?" such and such. And
You like that way?
Yeah.
That's so
And
wild.
sometimes like they're missing like limbs or such, and they act like they don't know.
Whoa. Straight up. What's his name from Harry Potter? Yeah.
Yeah.
The headless guy. I forget his name.
It actually reminds me of something. I used to work in healthcare in a old folks home.
Mhm.
Like, and this one patient, he was like dying, and we all knew he was gonna pass soon. And then I took a couple days off work. I left, came back, saw him walking down the hall, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's better." I was like, "He's better?" I was like, "Guys, so William's back?" And they're like, "Girl, he died this weekend."
Oh my god.
I know.
No way.
I straight up saw him walking down the hallway, and after that, I was just like, chill.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Spooky.
They love hallways.
You.
Floating down hallways.
Yeah, that's crazy. Right on. What else you got?
This isn't my story; it's a secondhand story about my seniors. They were in country, and they're set up every like distance apart,
Mhm.
and this house that they were set up at, like that one of my seniors was set up at, was like an old slaughterhouse for the ISIS, and so it was boarded up, but they were using it because it was a good vantage point. And so one, they were just like standing watching. It was dark out, and then he gets a radio call from his buddy, and he's like, "Hey, I think you have someone like, is someone like behind you?" or coming up towards you. And he radioed back. He's like, no. And he's like, I got him on thermal. And so he like turns around, checks the perimeter, and he's like, a negative. I don't see anyone. And he's like, are you sure? Like, just like double check, go up to the roof. And then he did. And then he came back and he's like, no. And he's like, he goes over the radio again. And he's like, no. And his friend was like, kind of shaky. He's like, it's like, are you sure? Because like someone's like right next to you on the, because he has thermals. And so he's catching something on the thermal. And he's like, no. So like, he tries to like look around and like he see like a hole in the old slaughterhouse. And when I say slaughterhouse, I mean like execution. Like they executed people in there. And so like he views into this hole and he could feel like something like just looking back at him, but he couldn't see anything, like light, nothing. And so he went out, went to the stairway, and then he stopped. And he's like, something in his mind told him like, tell him to pray, basically. And he started to like pray because he was Christian. And he started praying, and his friend was like radioing, and he was like, he's like right in front of you, and he could like feel, could feel like this presence in front of him, like. And he said he could like kind of see it in the darkness, and he said like it was like a big grin and like these piercing black eyes, and then it like went away on the thermals.
No,
and so
that's terrifying.
I know, because normally I thought like ghosts were supposed to be like cold and wouldn't show up on thermals, but for it to show up on thermals, it was making me think it's something else.
Oh,
maybe demonic because they're hot or something.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard that.
That's crazy.
There is a certain outpost in Afghanistan too with crazy stories about like the radios getting interference with Soviet. I
do actually have that story saved. I'm going to read it later.
Okay.
So I will talk about that one. That's crazy. Awesome.
That's
because there's two people confirming that story with the thermal, like that makes me think like, okay, yeah.
They definitely saw something.
Yeah.
You're talking about that hole in the wall. I was like, I've seen those before in gas station bathrooms. What's that? Oh! No, I'm just playing. Well, dang. That's wild. Well, if there's any other spooky stories you think of throughout the duration of this podcast, feel free to chime in. Real quick, let's talk about, before I dive into my story, let's talk about what the rest of your experience was like in the military. When you're finally all done in it, and then what that looked like post military for you.
So originally, getting close to my contract, I met Kate, and she was the deciding factor because I wanted to maybe stay in, be with my boys for a second deployment, but I could see a future with her, so decided ultimately just to get out. And so I ended up getting out, went to the VA, got myself enrolled, and then it's just been kind of like a fight ever since to get everything that I've claimed. I still don't even though I'm retired, like there's some stuff that isn't acknowledged by the VA that I definitely feel is service connected.
Oh, do you mean like health wise?
Yeah.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
So they only like are treating me for my back and like my fallen arches on my feet from like all the heights and stuff. But my knees, I have a neuropathy in my hands and shoulders from the military because the packs would like cut off circulation, and I wake up with like numb arms.
He can't do like fine motor stuff either. Like I have to do it for him.
Dang.
It's like
and they denied that, and they only gave me like 10% for tinnitus, and but yeah, I mean I met Kate. We eventually got married and got this beautiful house, and yeah, it's just been it's been a roller coaster. My mental health is my biggest thing. I suffer from severe depression with major anxiety.
Mhm.
And that's diagnosed, but they won't give me medicine or anything for it. That's a whole
Really?
other thing. Yep.
Dang.
Give me the runaround.
Oh, they'll do that to you, man.
But I deal with it every day. I think I got a grip on it. But yeah, that's been my life since. That was in 2022. And it's 2025, so.
Let's talk about, just going back really quick,
Mhm.
deployment. Where were you deployed? How long were you deployed?
I was deployed in the Southern Hemisphere for 6 months. We went to Japan. This was during COVID, so 2020. So movement was limited because countries were afraid. Japan for a month. We got quarantined for a month.
Dang.
Then Australia, and they were like locked down, but like generals had to talk to each other, like Australian generals and U.S. generals had to talk because U.S. has a strategic advantage.
Okay.
there. And so, yeah, I was out there jabbing during COVID, and then during 2021, well, when we got back, as soon as we got back, not even like a couple months after, like 3 or 4 months after, they were thinking about sending us to the border because of the escalated situation down there. Ended up not happening. Then a year later, we were supposed to be the battalion that covered the exit of Afghanistan. Like, we were very ready. We were like, had our bags packed,
Mhm.
weapons drawn, everything. But someone higher up decided to send a different battalion, and that's the battalion that ended up getting blown up. The 13 Marines
Jeez.
that lost their lives and 1 corpsman. But yeah, we were. I was that close to being that battalion.
Wow.
That's crazy. And that's like when you and I knew each other, right?
No, it was a
Not
couple months
yet.
before. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
But close.
and I really wanted to get some, but I met Kate, and nothing's still happening now as of right now. So
All right.
wouldn't have been worth it.
Well, thank God it wasn't you. They wouldn't be here with us right now. Well, right on. If you think of anything else, holler. I'm going to go ahead and read this story that I found on the internet earlier today. Actually, Doc mentioned it a minute ago. So, oh, absolutely. Hey guys, I'm doing some editing and I realized that my sound was pretty choppy when I was reading my story. I'm not sure exactly what happened. So I just decided to come back on and retell the story, which is good because there's a whole lot of details I left out after I did some more research after a couple days. And the story's a good one. So here you go. There was war. We knew that there had been people killed there. But there was something just completely wrong about this place. I never ever believed in ghosts before. Did we unleash something? What do? I mean, you have this gun and all this gear, but that's not going to help you now. How do you fight against ghosts? As Commander-in-Chief, I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan. I do not make this decision lightly. I make this decision because it is from here that we were attacked on 9/11, and it is from here that new attacks are being plotted as I speak. President Obama, 2009. In 2009, 8 U.S. Marines were deployed to an operation post in Afghanistan called OP Rock, Operation Post Rock. It was exactly that, an outpost on a giant hill. You can see in all directions for miles. There's virtually nothing out there except rocks, a few bushes scattered throughout, and mountain ranges. It really was a perfect vantage point for the Marines to hold down. They were ordered to hold down the post for 60 days against the Taliban. They didn't sleep on cots, they slept on the ground, and they didn't really have anything for cover except a ghillie tent and some shallow trenches and sandbags for cover. I think that they're called HESCO barriers. With no connection to the outside world aside from a few radios that they had no knowledge of the mortifying history that OP Rock held. Some of the guys had kids that were just born, recently married, and this was their first deployment. It was really hard on them. OP Rock was my first assignment. It was just a kick in the face, pretty much like, hey, you're gonna do this training for a few months and boom, going straight to Afghanistan. I don't even know if I want to do this or not. The squad was led by Sergeant Green. I was his second in command, and to be in charge of so many guys is really a burden. If there's a mistake or a decision that you made and they pay the cost, that's a hard break to swallow. The US Marines were ordered to relieve British ally soldiers who had been holding down OP Rock for the past 60 days, the same amount of time the US Marines were about to hold down Operation Post Rock. One of the British soldiers came down to help us. Welcome to OP Rock. It looked like a giant rock, just it was pretty much a knoll. Come on, it was definitely a weird place. It had a strange vibe. The British soldiers looked pretty rough. They looked like a little razzled, like a little bit fried. You can tell they had been there for a long time and they were just ready to go and go home. They didn't have any beds, no cots. You slept in the dirt and it was really bare. Yeah, it sucked. And there was this dog that was up there. Oh, that's just Ugly Betty. We take care of her, we feed her, he goes. You won't ever find a more diligent sentry. Hey, I'm always a dog person, and I worked with animals, so I took it upon myself to take care of her. She's cute. Betty, come on. Finally. It was time for the British soldiers to go. And they said one thing that definitely didn't make any sense at the time. And they failed to clarify. One more thing. If you dig anything up, make sure you put it back where you found it, alright? And I was like, we don't know these guys. They're probably just like jerking our chain. You know what I mean? It made no sense to us at the time. Later that night, I was on the machine gun post. It was very isolated. When you're in a small unit, there's always that fear of being vastly outnumbered. Dragged away into the night is always a possibility. Do you need anything, Corporal? Anytime Sergeant Green would, come up on the post, he would do a very distinct tap on your shoulder just to get your attention. No, I'm good, I told him. Everything was fine. He was good to go rack out for the night. Our radios were our lifelines. We didn't have any cell phones back then. We had a sat phone that would sometimes work, so anytime we heard anything on the radio, we knew it was incredibly important. And I heard someone on the radio, or something, rather. It was a crackling, gurgling noise that kept fading in and out. And I immediately called to main base. Gulf Main, this is OP Rock. Did you send a transmission? Over. They called back. That's a negative, OP Rock. We did not send or receive any traffic at this time. Copy. It was just very unusual. I turned the volume up to see if I could make anything out from what's being transmitted. It doesn't sound like English. My immediate thought, it was bad batteries, so I grab a fresh battery. Hope that's the end of it. We can't afford to lose this radio. If someone was to sneak up on us, we'd be done for OP Rock. This is Gulf Main, radio check, over. This is OP Rock, loud and clear, over. It was very unusual, but you can't really dwell on what happened. Just hearing some weird noises on the radio, could be anything, still unusual. Observation posts are usually pretty safe because you can see for miles around. This was different though. You felt somewhat exposed. Anytime your head was popping over the side, chance that a sniper's gonna get you. There were trenches in that place, but they weren't very deep. The British had been here for a while and we couldn't figure out why they had not dug any deeper. We knew immediately that we needed to dig deeper and wider trenches. And I'm digging, and all of a sudden, clang, I hit metal. It's some kind of engineering stake. I brush it off. I see that there's some Russian lettering, very distinctive. It made sense. Russians had been down here back in the 80s. It wouldn't be surprising even to find leftover gear from their time here. The ground was pretty hard. It was like trying to break through rock. I poked a shovel into the wall, and it collapsed on me. I noticed there was like a little crevice. Lance Corporal Smith started digging around. We found little pieces of ceramic pots, little cups, stuff like that. What is it? We went from being Marines to archaeologists or anthropologists or something. There was something else down there. We didn't know exactly what it was. From the shape of it, it's a femur bone. And it was definitely human. Like, this is kind of creepy. Hey, put it back, man. But Lance Corporal Smith was definitely the practical joker. You know, he always wanted to say something crazy and cruel. I don't know, man. We should put it back. But Smith just kept on making jokes. We were kind of superstitious about things like that, so we ended up putting it back where it belonged. But you couldn't dig anywhere without digging up bone after bone. What the? There's another one, and they were everywhere. Now it became very clear that why the British did not dig any deeper. There were bodies buried underneath. We were on top of a graveyard. It was my 20th birthday, and I was the most junior Marine on OP Rock. Being up there alone with nothing to do just mentally drains you. It's an eerie silence. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I was used to the country, but it was deathly quiet. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I just get this unnerving feeling that I'm being watched. And it sends chills throughout my entire body. So, out on this outpost, you rely on your instincts. And you're the one supposed to be watching everybody else. If you have that feeling that you're being watched, that there may be a sniper pointed right at your head, that's not a good feeling. Then I hear a blood-curdling scream. It's not good, guys, it's not good. I thought someone just got grabbed. And this is our biggest fear, is someone sneaking into camp, grabbing us at night and carrying them off. Jeez, I was like, hey man, what was that? I don't even know, man. It was just like really creepy. Move, go. I assumed it was a person that had got caught in the wire. And they had tons of like barbed wire out there, razor wire. So in case somebody did try to get in, they might get stopped by the razor wire. But I look around and there's nothing to be seen. I saw something move across right outside the perimeter wire. We immediately went, guns ready, straight to the front of where our razor wire was, shine a flashlight out there, and looked. And I thought someone was going to either try to take a pot shot at us or throw a grenade in the OP. I don't have a visual, so I grabbed my thermals. Thermal optics would be very clear to show anybody that was hiding behind the bush or hiding in the dirt. And you can very clearly see the shape of the body heat to tell if it's a person or an animal. Are you sure you saw something, Hoyt? With all the assets and gear at our disposal, there is no way that somebody could have hidden from us. I saw something. You're trying to put together what you just heard. What caused that? And you know, you just don't have an answer. We'll take a look in the morning. We just shrugged our shoulders and went back to the post and acted like nothing happened. I assumed that it was just my mind playing tricks on me because I was so tired. So early the next morning, I took Lance Corporal Parker down with me. You always have a battle buddy watching your back. Being outside the wire, you feel very exposed for some kind of sniper attack. We didn't want to spend a whole lot of time out there. I immediately started looking for some kind of rationalization for what had been there. An individual, or even an animal, for that matter, would have left footprints. I could not find any kind of prints, man or beast, indicating what had been there the previous night. So you started to wonder, well, what was that? And this is from Lance Corporal Damian Zolik. A couple days later. It was real quiet out. It was a still night, and I was just reflecting about, life stuff. And it would get really hot at night, like very uncomfortably hot. Some hours pass after that, and all of a sudden I feel like there's this cold chill that would move across me. And there's no breeze or anything like that. There's no reason why I should feel cold all of a sudden. And then I feel this breath on the side of my face. And I hear something whisper in my ear, and I spin around, and there was nothing there. The whisper, sounded like it was in Russian. Sounded kind of like the voices that were coming out of the radio. I thought, I'm just tired, I'm I'm just stressed out. So I gaffed it off as just being that. I hear like this crunching noise, sounded like footsteps above me. There's definitely somebody walking above me. And I thought, okay, it's probably Smith. So I ran around real quick to catch him on top of the post. Nobody was there. And that's when I started getting spooked. I'm like looking around. I'm like scanning the top of the base, but there was nothing there. There's nobody there. And I see this figure in my sight. But it looks like his fists are balled. And I was ready to shoot. I needed to make sure it wasn't one of my boys. But when I looked back through it, it was just gone. So I was like, are you kidding me? I gotta deal with the Taliban, insects, IEDs, the heat, and now I gotta deal with spirits? Then I felt that chill again. But what do? I mean, you have this gun and all this gear and all your training, but that's not gonna help you now. What's up with you, man? When I got up to relieve Damien on his post, he started telling me about strange things going on that night. There's something bad here, man. I saw something. I took it with a grain of salt because it's late and you're tired. One of your senses plays tricks on you. It's a lonely feeling knowing that this place is haunted and you're the only one that sees or hears these things. I'd rather, take my chances against something I can actually, fight against. So after that, I requested a transfer. And this is from Corporal Jacob Lena. We didn't know quite what to make of it. If he wasn't strong enough to be there, then I didn't want him watching my back because that's something you just can't trust. At the same time, you're down one man, and that sucks for everybody else. A few days after Zolik had left OP Rock, I was on the machine gun post. It was about 1:30 in the morning and I hear Ugly Betty barking. Ugly Betty's the dog. And instinctively, I threw up my night vision goggles to see what she's barking at. And I see something in the distance. First thing that goes through my mind is it's a scout for the Taliban. It was unnerving. I felt this figure staring right at me. And I was staring right back at it. At that distance, your eyes can play tricks on you. I switched over to my thermal optics. There's no animal activity, no creatures, no people out there. So thinking that I had just made a mistake somehow, I switched back over to my night vision goggles. I figured that it had moved 100 meters closer in just a few seconds. It was teleporting to me. I thought that I must have gone crazy. Still, nothing. Field's cold. There's no body heat signatures. The whole time Ugly Betty is still barking in that same direction. So I looked back to where the figure is. And just then, I felt Sergeant Green's signature double tap on my shoulder. And I turned around, and nobody's there. And then I looked back, and that person, or whatever, was out there, just vanished. And I know I'm not crazy. Ugly Betty is still barking at it. It's not just me. I realized Zolik, he was onto something. He got out of there, and we're still here. What's my next step? You don't go running into the command saying, I've got ghosts playing tricks on me on post. Because that's what's going to get you a one-way ticket to the loony bin. Part of me kind of wished that somebody else might have experienced too. It's day 39, 21 days left. Lance Corporal Austin Hoyt. It was the dead of the night. Everyone else is asleep. There's one other Marine that's awake, Lance Corporal Smith, who was 15 to 20 meters away on a different post. And I could hear footsteps behind me, and there's nothing there. It was probably loose gravel falling. Ugly Betty was just standing there with her hair up, teeth bared, growling. So I scanned with the thermals. The only heat signatures up there were the dog and the other Marines sleeping. Smith, do you see anything? He said, no. Try to shake it off. Do your job. I thought. Then all of a sudden, I hear this crunch again. My body is telling me that something just breathed on me. My skin is icy. I couldn't see anything, and it was like my eyes were just lying to me, because every other sense of my body was singing. There's something out there. It was then that I really accept the fact that, you know what? Damien was right. We are not alone up here. I never ever believed in ghosts. No way, man. There's a way that happened, though. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Then out of nowhere, it was just like this weird, cold chill. And then I hear this whispering. And at first, it's just like faint. Like you can barely hear what's going on. There's no one there. Then the voice came back again. That's Russian. But no Russians are here. And then it just got louder. Like the person was actually touching me in the ear. And it was so loud in my head. It truly terrified me. We couldn't deny that any of these things happened to us because it happened to all of us. I see them things too, man. Everybody was just like, yeah, man, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's some weird stuff going on out there. And that's not something we can just write off to being heat stroke or being exhaustion. It was too many things happening to all of us, too many times. I felt the breath on the back of my neck, heard whispers. It just became common knowledge. There's no rational explanation here. I mean, at this point, you have to look to the supernatural. Ghosts, you can't shoot it, you can't stab it, you can't blow it up. All of these things that we're trained to do, but we can't do it. You just have to accept the fact that these things are happening, and we need to continue to do our job. How are you? The one person that seemed the most unaffected was Lance Corporal Smith. You know, the guy who was joking about the femur earlier, couldn't take anything seriously. He used to give us a bit of a hard time about it. The sun fried your brain, man. But there was just something completely wrong about this place. It's not the sun. It wasn't a matter of, if something would happen again. It was a matter of when. Cut to day 59. This was our last night, and we were so close to the goal of getting out of there, and we were all on edge. Lance Corporal Dig calls me over, something on the radio. And there's a problem here. Well, I've changed the battery twice now. Both of them had gone dead within a 10-minute period, and it just made no sense. So I grabbed the last good battery we had, and it seems fine to me. Corporalina, the radio's dead. The system is dead. Our means of communication have now been completely severed. We're on our own. This is going to happen again, and I'm sitting here, waiting for that whisper. And then I hear, bang, bang, bang. Holy hell, we're about to die right now. Someone finally got in. Someone was trying to kill us. We've been shot at before, but this is close. And we just hear all this gunfire shooting over us. Someone is trying to kill us. We've been shot at before, but this is close. Time to go to work. It's gonna be me or them. And it sure as hell ain't gonna be me. My heart was pounding extremely hardcore. The machine gun fired right next to my ear. Wilson, what's going on? It wasn't a misfire. What happened? It was very clear that no rounds had been expelled from the machine gun. Wilson, you okay? Then out of nowhere, your rockets flying over the operation post. Down, down! It was definitely an RPG. You can hear the thump, 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 thump of your heartbeat. And I thought this was it. I thought I was done for. What is happening? Everyone is trying to figure out where we're taking fire from. Diggs, check the trenches, go. The only thing going through your head is the next step you have to take. Move forward, find the enemy. But there is no enemy to find. Clear, clear, go, 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 go. Whatever it was actually like it was holding a gun next to my ear and opening fire. I'm gonna die in this godforsaken rock out in the middle of Afghanistan, and all I remember is hearing that noise. So after what felt like an eternity of being fired upon from these unknown forces, it was completely silent, like there was nothing even there. And I couldn't even explain what was going on. Everyone heard it. Everyone knew it was a machine gun we're getting fired at. At that point, we realized there was no one there, and we felt helpless. It's too much for your mind to process. Lance Corporal Smith gets mad. He throws off his helmet. Freaking OP rock! We're all so ready to get off that godforsaken rock. Finally, we heard from the main base that we are no longer going to have to be there. It was amazing. We were all packed up and ready to go within 5 minutes of getting that order. The moment we actually did step off that rock, it was the greatest feeling of all time. Like, I felt really happy, like it was my birthday. Well, it was like Christmas to us, and we're finally on our way out of there. Someone else's problem now. Eventually, I found out the true recent history behind OP Rock. Back when the Russians first invaded, the Russians killed all of the Mujahideen up there and took it over for themselves. Again, this is back in the 1980s. Later, the Taliban rolled in force. In the middle of the night, they snuck up on the top of OP Rock and stylistically beheaded all of the Russian soldiers up there. And then, later on, finally, when the Marines rolled through the area, they buried a number of Taliban underground. It all started to make sense with the Russian stake. All the broken, shattered bones, the voices we heard, and the images, the screams. The little piece of rock was one giant tune. And as silly as it might sound, you start to wonder, did we unleash something when we started digging up those bones? In some way, these Marines felt like OP Rock followed them home with them. 5 of the 8 Marines have died since, and 3 remaining Marines were the ones who told the story on Paranormal Witness in 2014. I mean, this is like some Final Destination thing. What the hell is going on? You thought you were done with OP Rock when you left, but in some ways, it wasn't done with you. And that's the story so far of what we got from OP Rock from back in 2009. I've watched a ton of different videos on this, and there's a lot of different history in this area, from wars from 500 years ago up till, of course, the past decade. Who knows how many hundreds or thousands of people have died trying to take over this rock or defend this rock or whatever. And it kind of explains why unbelievably haunted this place could be. All right. Doc wanted to add to that last story about the rock.
Yeah. Just my thoughts on it is like, I believe it has credibility because so many empires and civilizations have tried to conquer Afghanistan with no avail. Like, even Soviets, even us. I just think there's so much energy, so many lost souls out there that either pointless crusades, conquests to like tactical gain stuff. But yeah, I take every Afghanistan story with like a little bit more credibility than anything else because so many other people have been there before. So I just think there's just a bunch of bad energy there.
Yeah. I mean, from what I hear, definitely sounds like a paranormal hotspot out there for sure. And, you know, I don't know too much about Afghanistan, but I do know that our troops are out there for a long time. There's all sorts of crazy stories out there, including, you know, the giant of Kandahar, which I'd love to talk about another time. But, you know, insane mountainous ranges that are just so brutal that our soldiers can't really understand, like, how to navigate them very well. And of course, the Afghan soldiers can navigate them very well because they live there. Yeah, I've heard just lots of crazy stuff happens out there, and I bet there's so much more than all of the stuff that we've heard that happens out there that, you know, we'll never even hear about. Mm-hmm. Because it's a whole different part of the world, and they have their own world out there, you know. So, well, anything else you guys like to add before we call it an episode? All right, I think that's gonna be it for this spooky military episode. I'd like to thank Doc for coming on, telling his stories, his experience in the military, and Kate as well. We're gonna go ahead and do another episode after this. So if you listen to this and you liked it, there's going to be another one coming out really soon. So stay tuned for part 2 with Doc and Kate, where we're going to tell some indigenous Indian ghost stories, which I'm very excited about. That's my go-to. That's what I know. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. This has been Suspend Disbelief. You can find the Skull Crawlers on Instagram at the Skull Crawlers, on YouTube at Skull Crawlers Movie Club, and I'm on the internet as well. You can find me, Cary Thomas Cody, kind of wherever. Doc, do you want to plug anything? You want to plug your social media account or anything like that?
Mark F. and Cody on most everything. Our Chief Mark F. and Cody. Reach out if you have any questions.
Hit them up. Kate, you want to?
I mean, I'm a little Wonderland on TikTok. I talk about some of the stuff I'll probably talk about.
Let's go. Hit her up. She said I'm not allowed to follow her because she said it's embarrassing stuff. No, she said it's not for family. So whatever. You guys follow her. It's fine. None taken. No. But yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. There's going to be a lot more. I guarantee it. So, as always, sleep with one eye open. And thanks for wearing your brown pants. I should have warned you guys. We have a sign off. Do you guys have any final words?
Semper Fidelis.